Right up here.
And if you can scoot in close to the mic, thank you. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name's Dan Moss. I own a window tinting shop in Idaho, Rexburg, Idaho.
How long have you owned a window tinting shop there in Rexburg, Idaho?
Since 2008.
And is it just you working there, or do you have others working for you?
We have other employees.
Okay. Do you have a website for your company?
Yes.
And how do you get business? Do people come in? Can they call you to get a quote? What happens when someone is interested in getting their car tinted?
They can stop by and get a quote. They can email us through the website. There's a phone number on the website. They can call, text. Pretty much, we make it as easy as possible.
Okay. If someone calls, who answers? Is there like an office phone or?
There's a shop phone, so it could be me or one of the other employees.
Okay. And if someone calls in and requests a window tint job, how do you set up sometimes to tell them when an appointment might be available?
If somebody calls in, we just pull out a calendar right then and just give them some dates and times that they can come by. If that doesn't work for them, usually they can drop off the car before hours or after hours.
Okay. Do you ever send them like a text saying, we have an appointment available at this time? Would that work for you?
Every day.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about window tint in general. Are there different levels or percentages of tinting that are put on?
Yeah, there's it's called the VLT percentage, visual light transmittance. So what your eye can see, not infrared or ultraviolet, but the visual light that comes through the glass is represented by a number, and the window film manufacturers assign that number to how dark the film is.
Okay.
So 5% window film only lets in 5% of the visible light. 70% lets in 70% of the light, essentially looks clear, where 5% is black, really dark.
So if someone puts 5% VLT onto a vehicle, are you able to see into that car?
No.
What about 20%? What is that?
You can see like a silhouette of somebody that's in there.
Okay. And can people do different percentages like front or rear windows?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about some business that you did with back on September 23rd and 25th of 2019. I've shown the defendant Exhibit 183. If I can have my paralegal approach with that. If you take a look at that, does that contain an affidavit that you signed authenticating some different screenshots from the business phone as well as screenshots from your camera system in your business?
Yes, it does.
And do those relate to a phone call that was received on September 23rd at 1:54 p.m. from a 480-351-9120 number?
Yes.
and then sort of the business of tinting relating to that initial call.
Yes.
The state will move to admit Exhibit 183. I think that's what I said.
183 is a packet.
Yes.
Relevant, Your Honor.
All right. The exhibit is admitted, you said 81?
183.
I'm sorry, I wasn't even close. 183.
All right, and if I could have the Elmo, thank you. All right. I start with sort of what is described in this as, let me zoom out. Were you contacted at some point by law enforcement and asked about an individual with that 480-320 number contacting your business to have window tint put on a Jeep?
Yes.
And did you, in fact, end up scheduling an appointment and, in fact, putting tint on a Jeep?
Yes.
So did you provide law enforcement, starting with this first page of 183's attachments, a screenshot of your phone showing when you received that first call from the 480-20 number?
Yeah.
And so this was September 23rd of 2019?
Yes.
And then that was at the 1:54 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's a couple days later, did you or your business reach back to that 480-351, advise them that you had an appointment available?
Yes.
I'm going to zoom in a little on this. Is this, I guess, the message that was sent that was kept as part of your business records regarding setting up a time for this individual to bring in their Jeep?
Yes.
So on September 25th, they were advised they could drop the Jeep off at 9 to have work done?
Yes.
Okay. Was this a message that you sent out?
Yes.
And so when you're sending this in the morning at 7:27 a.m. and you're advising them that they can drop off the car and it will be worked on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put up, can you describe for us what we see here?
Looks like I'm cleaning some windows, just about ready to put some film on that door
Okay.
glass.
So this is you actually, you did the work on this Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about, this is the vehicle that was associated with the 480-351 9120 number.
Yeah.
Now this is a two-door Jeep Wrangler.
Yes.
When you are looking at a vehicle like a Jeep Wrangler, do they come with factory tint on them?
Yes.
So when a vehicle has factory tint on it, what do you do when they're brought in to put tint on them?
All the time people come in and ask to darken the factory tinted glass, because the factory tinted glass is usually like a 20% VLT, and you just layer another dark layer on top of it.
Okay, so you don't have to try to take off that other tint, you're just putting another layer on top of it.
Yep.
So in this case, you said you were cleaning, we can see a spray bottle, you clean the glass before you put the next layer on.
Yep.
When you are talking about different percentages of tint, in this case, do you recall being asked to put a 5% tint on the rear windows?
Yes.
So if there's already tint on the car and then you add the 5%, does that make it even darker than what we would expect on a normal 5%.
Yeah, if you slide a VLT meter on there, like all officers have usually in their car, it will usually net like 2% or 0% VLT.
And so would that mean you can't see anything in the back?
Yeah, dark.
So if someone was laying or sitting in the back of this Jeep and you tried to walk by and look in there, you wouldn't be able to see it?
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled.
Having worked on these cars and seen what this looks like, are you familiar with whether or not you can see someone inside the vehicle with that dark of tint?
Yes, definitely.
So from your personal experience, you are telling us that with the 5% and then the additional factory tint, you would not be able to see into the back of that Jeep.
Broad daylight, you can't see in.
Now, the 20% that's in these front windows on top of the factory, would you still have some ability to see in?
Yes.
Okay. When you were talking to us earlier, you said that people are able to drop off their vehicles to be worked on.
Yes.
Do you recall in this case whether or not you saw the person who dropped this off?
I do not.
Okay. Now, we see that you have some cameras inside your shop for you to work on. Did you attempt to screenshot images to show the rear license plate of this vehicle?
Yes.
And I'm going to put some of these up, also part of packet 183. Do you recall the colors of the license plate on that Jeep?
They were white.
Okay. Did it have black lettering?
Yes.
Okay, so is that an Idaho plate?
No.
Okay. Did you know what state plate that was?
Texas. I
Texas?
guess.
Could I get you to speak up just a little bit? Thanks.
So it was a white plate with black lettering that you recognized to be from Texas,
Yes.
but you were unable to get the exact lettering of that plate from your surveillance system.
Correct. At the distance and angle, it was blurry.
Okay. One other question in this. On this Jeep, did you note there was like a sticker down here on the
Yes.
front windshield?
Yeah.
So that was there when the Jeep was brought in and dropped off to you?
Yes.
When you are completed with the job, do you send a sort of receipt of some type?
Yes.
And do we see that here as a part again of Exhibit 183?
Yes.
And did that describe the work you did?
Yes.
So we see again, this was sent to the 480-351-9120.
Yes.
So we know it was a Jeep Wrangler, what we saw in the photograph
Yes.
with the Texas license plate.
Yes.
And so it was 200, how much you charged?
Yes.
And then it says 5% rear and 20% front. What does that mean then?
That we put 5% window film on the back 3 windows and 20% on the front doors.
Okay. And then with our start and end time, does that mean that you completed this work in about an hour on September 25th of 2019?
Approximately.
Do you recall seeing the individual who had this Jeep ever pick it up?
I don't.
So did you have any contact with the owner that you recall at this point?
Not that I can recall.
So other than knowing that you were dealing with this Jeep that was documented, the 2-door Wrangler associated to that 480-351 9120 number. You can't tell us anything else about the owner.
Correct.
State has no other questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, are there any questions for this witness from the jury? I don't see any. All right, sir, you can step down.
Thank you.
State can call its next witness.
Thank you.
All right, sir, come on up. You're going to stand right here in front of my clerk and be sworn in.
Hello. Can you please state and spell your first and last name?
Thomas Miller, Thomas, M-I-L-L-E-R.
Thank you. Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God? I do. Okay, now let's go in order of the ring.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Special Agent Thomas Miller with the Drug Enforcement Administration.
How long have you worked for Drug Enforcement Administration?
Approximately 27 years.
What do you do there?
I currently am the unit chief of the National License Plate Reader Program for the DEA.
Can you tell us what the National License Plate Reader Program is?
It's a law enforcement tool that was developed and utilized by the DEA to enforce its Title 21 statutory authority to facilitate drug trafficking investigations and any other drug-related crimes in the drug trade.
So in there, we hear the term license plate reader. What is that? What is a license plate reader? How does that work?
It is a camera that we normally have positioned on any known drug route utilized by drug traffickers. A lot of the LPRs have a software. It's called optical character recognition, or better known as OCR. What this OCR software allows the LPR camera to trigger on the alphanumeric characters on a license plate, and it will create an image or images, and simultaneously it will also create a XML or a textual file. And at that time, the images and the text file are then paired up and is then saved in the DEA server.
Okay. You used the term LPR. Is that shorthand for something?
Yes, a license plate reader.
Okay. So it's easier for us to say LPR.
Yes.
Is there a system called Diesel that relates to the National License Plate Reader Program?
Yes, Diesel is our tactical query and alert system, and it stands for the DEA Special Intelligence Link, and that's how we access the information that is saved from the LPR cameras.
Okay. So can law enforcement agencies outside of the DEA access this diesel system to determine if any of the cameras have caught a specific license plate?
Yes. The El Paso Intelligence Center, where the diesel platform is located, they will vet state, local, tribal, and other federal law enforcement personnel to have or gain access to our diesel platform.
Okay. So certain law enforcement agencies can get access to access diesel to see if a license plate has been read on any of the cameras.
Yes, as long as it's they're ingested into our diesel platform.
And by ingested, what do you mean?
After the LPR camera that does feed into the diesel platform, it will go into the diesel platform where they can access that.
Do all of these license plate readers capture like just a photo of the license plate, or is it the vehicle? What are we getting in this system?
Depending on the vendor camera and the OCR, or the optical character recognition software, it will sometimes give you a visual of just the plate, and then other times it'll be the back plate, possibly depending on the position of another camera, the front plate, and sometimes an overall picture of the entire vehicle.
Okay. So if someone is driving on an interstate where one of these license plate readers are located, depending on the camera, it may capture a photo of the vehicle and of their license plate?
Correct.
Okay. Do all of these license plate reader cameras just look at the back of vehicles?
No, a DEA will sometimes also place cameras that read the front license plates. Usually we do this more for tractor trailers or semi-trucks who have a front plate that is different than the plate on the trailer.
I want to talk to you about the license plate reader near Holbrook, Arizona. For that reader on the I-40, does that camera capture the front or the back, or what does that camera capture there?
It captures the back plate, and there's two cameras, one each covering the 2 lanes on that road going westbound.
Okay. I've shown the defendant Exhibit 121. My paralegal can approach. So if you can take a look at Exhibit 121, let me know if you recognize the affidavit as well as the documents associated with it.
Yes, I do.
And does that contain an affidavit authenticating those records as well as a diesel citing of a license plate from your National License Plate Reader program?
Yes, it does.
And that's kept in the normal course of business?
Yes.
State will move to admit pursuant to 803 and 902.
Objection?
Just relevant, Your Honor.
What was the number again?
121.
121's admitted. 121's admitted, sorry.
Oh, thank you. If I can have that to publish, please. All right. Let's start with the first page of this. So is this a document that's part of the National License Plate Reader diesel system?
Yes, it is.
So in this case, when we're looking at the top here, first we see plate, Is that the plate that's associated with this vehicle that we see here?
Yes, it is.
So that's LWD 0997?
Yes, and I believe that was a Texas license plate.
Then the location here, DEA FCU AZ Holbrook. Can you tell us what that means?
Depending on who the unit chief was at the time, they will name a camera, specifically if it's owned by DEA, a certain name, and a lot of times it will include at least a city or town that's fairly close to that location.
And is this license plate reader on the I-40?
Yes, it is.
And is this one located a little to the, I guess, west or east of Holbrook on the I-40?
Yes.
Okay. And then we see a time and a date. So is that October 1st of 2019?
Yes, it is.
And it's 6:52 Mountain Standard Time?
Yes.
At that time on October 1st of 2019, if we convert that to Arizona time, is it 5:52?
Yes, it would be that time of the year.
Okay. Over here we see a highway name, you said I-40 westbound, and then direction giving us the westbound as well.
Yes.
In this photograph, we see the back of a vehicle with no tire on the back of it. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then was there a second page of this that gave a closer up of the license plate on this?
Yes, it does.
And is that what was documented in the citing details of a Texas plate LWD 0997?
Yes.
State has no other questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, cross.
Mr. Thomas, is that the only picture that you have in Arizona on October 1st of the Jeep Wrangler?
I'm sorry?
Is it the only picture, license plate reader picture that you have in Arizona on October 1st?
Yes, that's the only picture in our diesel platform.
Okay. And how many license plate readers do you have in Gilbert, Arizona?
I am not sure on how many we exactly have.
Do you have any?
Yes, we do.
There's one on Gilbert Road, isn't there?
That I'm not sure. We have over 11,000 cameras that feed into the diesel platform.
Okay. What about in Mesa, Arizona? Are you aware of any in Mesa, Arizona?
I am unaware how many cameras that we have in Mesa, Arizona. We do have quite a few cameras, LPR cameras in Arizona.
And so of all those cameras that you have along this way, when this incident happened in Gilbert, Arizona, you don't have any other pictures of this Jeep? Is that correct?
No, but there's several reasons why there may or may not be. A lot of times we do have software and hardware issues with our LPR cameras, so they will be down at times. Depending on speed, how old the camera is, sometimes speed and the amount of traffic will also have a bearing on whether or not an image is captured. And then there's ways to defeat LPR cameras as well.
There are ways to defeat them?
I'm sorry?
There are ways to defeat them?
Yes.
Interesting.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that and move to strike defendant's comments.
The jury should disregard the noise that the defendant made after that answer. All right, go ahead and ask your
Sorry,
next
Your Honor.
question.
So, Mr. Miller, of all your cameras, you have no other pictures on October 1st, 2019 of that Jeep Wrangler, is that correct?
I'm going to object to asked and answered twice already.
It is asked and answered, but he can go ahead and answer one more time.
That was, that transaction of the diesel sighting was the only one in diesel.
Okay, so on October 2nd, you have no other pictures of this Jeep Wrangler as well, is that correct?
I'm not for sure if that ever was ran. I'm not for sure. What does happen is DEA does have a retention policy where as information or data that goes into the diesel platform is then expunged or deleted or purged from the diesel platform after 90 days.
And you don't have any from October 3rd as well, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't have any from October 1st, October 2nd, or October 3rd, is that correct?
And not to my knowledge.
And do you know how far from Gilbert, Arizona, Holbrook, Arizona is?
I'm not for sure the exact distance.
Would you be surprised if it was 173 miles?
I'm going to object to speculation. Witness has already indicated he doesn't know.
He can answer if he knows.
I don't know that.
So that would be about 3 hours from
I'm
Gilbert,
gonna again
Arizona?
Object
It's
to,
just, the objection's sustained. He didn't know how far it was.
No more questions, Your Honor.
All right, redirect.
just briefly. Sir, you told us that the DEA set up this system for drug trafficking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does that then have an impact on where cameras are located?
Yes, we specifically try to target drug corridors and drug routes that are utilized by drug trafficking organizations.
So if you thought there might be some drug corridor going through Gilbert, then you might stick a DEA license plate reader there?
Correct, or at least have a law enforcement partner that we will ingest their LPR camera data into diesel.
So let me ask this, are all license plate readers that you see across the country associated to diesel?
No,
So just because there may be a license plate reader on Gilbert Road, does that mean that it's part of the diesel system?
no. In fact, there's so many different license plate reader programs out there that our program, comparatively to the totality of everything, is very small.
So DEA just ingests or has its own small percentage of cameras.
Yes.
They don't cover every single camera.
No, not at all.
You were asked about if a vehicle is driving in a drug trafficking corridor that the DEA is interested in, that there would be ways to defeat or not, I guess, be captured on these license plate readers. What did you mean by that?
There's definitely ways. They will remove their license plate. They will partially cover a plate. They will change a number temporarily. But a lot of times we will see things that will cover a plate, or at least part of the plate, to make sure that an LPR does not take an image.
And then you said the amount of traffic. So if traffic is busy, is LPR less successful in obtaining all of those vehicles and all of their license plates?
Yes, and depending on the age of the camera, there is a failure rate of the images that are taken by an LPR camera. So if there is a vehicle that is fairly close or tailgating another vehicle, it may not take a picture of the front vehicle.
ultimately, in this case, what you're able to tell us is that on October 1st of 2019, at about 5:52 a.m., a Jeep Wrangler with a Texas license plate LWD0997 was going westbound on I-40 in Arizona?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.